What up, guys? Welcome back to another edition of Non-Stop Tabletop, where we always do jazz hands, finger guns, whatever you want, right beforehand to get ourselves warmed up. It's Ben, Nick, and Ryan today. How do you do, everybody?
I'm doing great.
Pretty all right.
All right. Today, we're going to be doing a quick little wrap-up of the past couple things of news. It's going to be Sentinel, Team Tactics cards, and the Blob. We've seen his regular just character card. Before we get into that, make sure to like, comment, subscribe. It helps the channel out a ton. And as always, quick little plug, not sponsored, obviously, by Gaia's Cradle, East Providence. Check it out. That's where we go ahead and play all of our games. MCP on Saturdays, Star Wars Legion on Wednesdays. So again, Gaia's Cradle, East Providence. Check it out, dude. Hope to see you guys there. Okay, now that I went ahead and did my Love Shack speed style intro, we're going to start off with the oldest news, and that is the Sentinel Team Tactics cards. So this actually will kind of go in line with as a follow-up on our previous video with the Sentinel roster building. And to start, I like all three. One is situational, but I like all three.
I think they're all really cool, and I think any of them could warrant being brought in a list depending on, who you're bringing. I don't think we've seen Sentinel Prime's Team Tactics cards yet. So
we have.
Oh, we have?
By the way. Yeah. So Sentinel Prime had 2 Team Tactics cards.
Oh yeah, that was the one with the nanites and stuff.
Yeah, that was the one where you could
talked about those.
You could add a character. You could add a character as a Sentinel.
Yep.
So there's that. I just to start, Ryan was the one that pointed out to me, and I think it was somebody who pointed it out to him. Directive 1 just immediately says, "Hey, fuck you, Web Warriors, get out of my face," which is so funny.
Yeah, I think the point was to shut down Storm's leadership, where you can just give everyone cover because you can't modify the dice with her leadership.
It's true.
But it also just means that Miles' leadership and Spider Sense becomes completely useless, and Stealth becomes completely useless. So they're just like it's kind of funny that Sentinels shut down Web Warriors entirely, like as a faction, when they're meant to beat mutants.
Yeah, it's still it's really good. Obviously, it's generically good enough to warrant bringing it regardless. Because X-Men are popular again because they're a good counter to Malekith. Web Warriors were just always good, so you're definitely gonna see it. Efficient Machines is pretty goddamn good, at least in my opinion. You're gonna have to. You would only really bring in a big high costing game, or no, because she's what, 5. Sentinel Prime is 5, and the other 2 are 4s. Right?
Yeah, so you probably bring it to 18. You could bring it to 17, flex in a 3 cost, and then make it a Sentinel with nanites so that it benefits from this, but you wouldn't have to.
With that Team Tactics card, are they actually considered a Sentinel?
Yeah,
they would be considered a Sentinel once the game starts.
Okay, so once the game
starts. Not for
list
building.
Okay.
Yeah, since these cards are kind of new, they've only just added them. The first one was the Shield one, then they had a Hydra one, now the Sentinels one. But when you're building your team, the characters that you're going to give that Team Tactics card to, they do not count towards that affiliation in terms of having 51% to have that affiliation for your team. So you do still need to bring at least a majority of characters in that, officially in that roster, in order to get that leadership.
It's true.
Okay. All right. Yeah, that's fair. And thankfully, thank God, Taskmaster and Winter Soldier. Thank God that they're technically Sentinels also, which is really funny, or they can be.
Yep. So, for the purposes of forming your affiliation list, they do.
We hate mutants. It is Bucky.
So Efficient Machine is really good. It synergizes really well with the actual Sentinels too. A lot of them, I think it's on their spenders, have a spender. Yeah, their spender for each wild in the attack roll. The defending character gains Incinerate, Shock, or Slow. So if you start counting your shields, you give yourself a higher chance to give more bad things to your opponent, which kind of makes this a little higher value than it was on first glance. It's not like insanely better, but for one turn you
You can
just
go
have a
off.
higher rate of
Yeah.
shocking and incinerating people, which is, I mean, shock, incinerate, and slow are three of the best conditions in the game that aren't stagger. So
Right. So far,
Yeah, definitely a solid team tactics card. Just gotta be careful with the ranging. You'll just have to be sure you get Cassandra Nova in the right position to get everyone within range 3.
And
yeah,
But-
potentially both of the cards we've mentioned so far, Directive 1 and Efficient Machines, can be absolute game changers if used right. If you position it in the right way and if you're playing against the right team, especially Efficient Machines, because it's just, you can use it whenever and it's always going to be solid. It's always just going to be such a game changer if you just decide to roll super well, or actually if you roll poorly, it could benefit you there too, and that's pretty great.
yeah.
Does
I
add
think,
another side to be a success. So
yeah, I think offensively, this card just gives you so much more flex. There's only two sides of the dice that don't count as successes when you play this card offensively.
Blanks and skulls, then
Yeah,
Yeah.
which is pretty huge if you really need to get the damage through. So that's cool. Plus, if they get hit with a blue attack, their shields become wilds which count as 2 wilds against blue attacks, if I'm remembering correctly. So they've just got a lot going for them off this card. And then Scrap Metal is really cool. I don't know how often this is going to be relevant. This sort of rings like last minute save does off Lockjaw, where it's so specific that sometimes you might not get this off. But the plus side is this has slightly less restrictions because you're playing probably three characters with Sentinel programming as opposed to one Lockjaw. You're fine spending the 2 power because your character's going to get KO'd, and then it's sort of like Baron Zemo's effect, where you just roll and then you deal damage based on how much you roll.
Yeah.
I think it's a cool card.
Yeah.
It does suck. It can hit your own characters.
Yeah, so you gotta be careful.
Yeah.
There's gonna be some games where you're not gonna want to bring this just because they might just be very congested in an area.
Yeah, like
So,
if you get two crises that are both on the same map, like you don't want to bring this because all of your stuff is just going to be right next to each other.
I guess, yeah. So if it's a lower point game, because it would be 5, then 4, so 9, and then so I guess if it's just a lower point cost game, this one's a little bit better, especially if it's or if it's a crises like a little bit more spread out, like not hammers. Oh my god. Well, granted, no one's ever really gonna bring the riot sparks because that's 4
you
points,
have
right?
like serum canisters and stuff. There's a lot of things where I think this maybe does all right, maybe doesn't. The other thing too is like you roll 5 dice and you could swing a game super hard. Like if you get 5 hits and like 3 of their characters other than 2, like it's probably never gonna happen. But if it does, like you're like, well, all right, well I dazed one of my own characters, but I basically dazed 3 of theirs or something. Like this is a card that could swing. Stun is a really good special condition to give people.
Now
You most likely will always have the power to play it because it's after the damage is dealt to KO the character.
Right.
So then you would,
as long as they have
most
more than
likely.
1 health.
Yeah, if they have 1 health, you're probably gonna screw yourself unless you made sure you had at least 1 power.
Now here's my one weird thought about this card. I kind of wish this card had the last line of text, and I personally don't think it'd be that bad if it went back to your hand, and you could always play it, because that would go under the assumption that at least 2 of your Sentinels are gonna die. It's almost never gonna happen, but I feel like if it, in like that one weird scenario where it did, I feel like it would be really good.
That'd be okay. I think they also could have made this one unaffiliated, because the only characters who can use it are Sentinels anyway.
Yeah, because they have to have Sentinel programming.
The actual Sentinels with the Sentinel program, yeah.
So, one of those 2 things could be cool, but I still think it's a good card regardless.
Yeah.
I like it a lot, actually.
Damn, so Bucky can't blow himself up.
You just have to. Yeah.
Darn.
Damn.
Hate when that happens.
You're playing against it. You just have to try to hit the character with a throw before you kill them. Get those attacks in that throw before damage is dealt.
Yep.
Yeah, so
All right. They
so
look good.
those are all good,
Well,
man.
there's one more, right?
No,
no,
No.
the
there's
only,
yeah,
it
there-
was scrap metal efficient machines directive 1. That was in the
Right, okay.
last wave, and then we talked about the other 2
Other than that one,
before.
sorry.
So those
Yeah.
are it. Thumbs up on I think on all of our ends. Granted, I mean I don't want to speak for
Yeah,
everybody, but pretty good. I think it's gonna round up the roster pretty well. I think you're gonna see the first 2 a lot more than scrap metal, but you know, besides that, now let's talk about a fat piece of shit, and I'm not talking about me. We're gonna be talking about our good boy
Duke.
Fred Dukes, the Blob. 3 cost. He's obviously going to be in Brotherhood of Mutants. He's going to go alongside Pyro, so we have to really see what Pyro is going to do and see if the pack is worth it. So I think all of our opinions on him are either mid or fine.
Well, yeah.
Yeah,
So
so
he's the same on
to
both
run-
sides. So this is nothing too special about him flipping.
Yeah, just gotta run through his stats real quick. He's
but
3
yeah.
threat. He moves small. He's got 6 health, and then his defenses are 4-2-2. I kind of think that's what's souring me on him because everything else about him's good. His builder is a range 2 5 dice that can push anything size 3 or less, which is pretty solid. Spender only costs 3, and it has explosive force. Again, explosive force is a really good keyword. And he gets to move himself with it. So at range 3, he can spend 3 to sometimes just move himself next to objective. Pretty good. Catch Me Little Man costs 3. He can throw a terrain feature size 3 or less within 2 and throw it medium. As long as you can throw something medium or longer, you're in a good spot. That tickles is 1 power. You can spend the power to reduce the amount of damage suffered by 1 to a minimum of 1. And then if the attacking character is within 3, he can push the attacking character small. I think it's weird that this only goes to a minimum of 1. Nick brought that up when we were talking to him earlier.
Yeah.
About this earlier, so yeah.
Yeah, because a lot of times characters that pay a power to reduce damage aren't restricted by that minimum. You usually see that on innate superpowers like Iron Man.
Yeah. And then
so,
nothing
yeah.
can move the Blob is this character can't be pushed or thrown as the result of attack special rules. So he's like solid for a 3 cost. I think his biggest problem is that his yellow and blue defenses are 2, and we've seen with characters like Venom, like once you get down to 2, you start taking a lot of chip damage, even from attacks that shouldn't be doing a lot. Like 5 dice builders are going to hit you for like 2 or 3 damage way more consistently.
Yeah, and the issue too is 2 of his defenses, because we could argue because Arnim Zola has a 2, right? But just 1 2.
He's 2
Yeah.
3 4. Venom is 4 2 3.
MODOK
so like
is 2 3 4, I think, or 2 4 3.
I think a lot of the characters that have 2 die defenses, or 2 1 die defenses are Enchantress and Mysterio,
and
and
Carnage.
maybe this. I think Ebony Maw's in a little better shape. I forgot exactly what his defenses are, but those characters have that superpower where it forces the enemy to pay extra power in order to hit them on their weakest defense. So
yeah, no, why didn't Carnage have that?
Or those people
yeah,
are
Carnage
Carnage
is-
and they just get slaughtered.
So
he's got
bad.
similar stuff to Carnage there. Yeah.
So such a slap in my face.
Like this guy being able to reduce damage, I guess, is fine
First.
for 1 power, and being able to throw or push the character is really good. You can probably catch people and reposition them with that, like off an objective. And
Yeah,
it's not size restricted, so that's good too. Like you can push the Hulk or Malekith with this.
Yeah, I think he's gonna really just be a position bully where you're not really gonna use him for damage as much as you're just gonna try to get him to position the map the way that's benefiting you. So like you're gonna really try to get explosive force and thunder splash. You're not too concerned about the damage. You're really trying to push with the strike. You're not too concerned about the damage. Or I mean, if you do damage, that's great, but I don't think you should be super concerned about it. And yeah, I guess you're just gonna try to really stick him somewhere and just try to control an objective with that.
Because if he's the last one to go in the whole round, and if you could successfully get a good Thunderous Splash, I'm just saying, man, again, that could be a whole game changer. Obviously, that's like, it's a lot of different variables going to happen. It's not always going to be that case, but you could weirdly just win a whole game just because Blob threw his fat ass out in the field and just went cannonball, boom, and just hit everybody. Granted, your character is going to get hit too, but,
Yeah, I think one thing that might have made him better without changing his defenses and without changing his reactive is if Catch Little Man, instead of terrain feature, was like a character of size 2 or less within 2, being able to throw them like small. I think being able to reposition other characters with more of his stuff would have given him like a way better specialized role. Granted, he can move other characters with 1, 2, 3 of his 5 text boxes on his card, so it's not like it really needed it, but
I kind of foresee him. A lot of times you have these games where it's like on one side of the map there's like 3 characters on each team fighting over like one objective over there, and then on the other side there's like 1 or 2 characters just kind of chilling and doing their own thing. He's probably gonna be in that group, in that smaller group, where if you stick him on like the right side of the board and everything's going on the left, if your opponent only has 1 character, they might not be in a great matchup against Blob, like especially if they put a character that's primarily physical attacks, and you can just send Blob on that side and he's gonna hold his own. So he's probably gonna be like that character that stays out of the fight for most of the game until you really need him to come in and try to do a thunderous splash and push a bunch of characters at once.
Yeah, which is gonna be really nice. Now, here's my one weird thing about Blob, and I'm actually gonna ask you two. Why would I take Blob on Brotherhood instead of Juggernaut on Brotherhood?
Because of 3 costs. It just helped. I think he helps you for points.
So that's part of this. Is I think Brotherhood is, they got an issue, not a huge issue, but they have an issue kind of like Asgardians, where they have a lot of characters that are pretty expensive. I think their only 3 costs is Mystique and Quicksilver.
Oh, he is.
I'm pretty sure Sabretooth is 4.
Yep, Sabretooth is 4.
Toad is 2, but that's a good thing.
Yeah, Toad is 2, but you know what Toad's doing, right? So he's not.
Yeah.
He's not really going into a fight.
Is it Rogue and Gambit are on Brotherhood, or is it
Rogue is? I'm not sure Gambit is. If he is, he's also a 3 cost. He's 3. But they came out super recently.
Yeah. Yep. Or was it Colot? No. Nope.
Gambit is on Brotherhood. Okay, so they got him as well.
Oh, that's true.
He's a sniper also, so he's pretty.
He fits a different role. So like he's something they needed.
They had Quicksilver, who was good for extraction objectives. Now they have Blob, that's probably better for secure objectives. So now they actually have some options for the 3 costs.
I think that Blob's gonna probably find a better home on Crime Syndicate than he is on Brotherhood, because he synergizes with Kingpin so much better than he does with Magneto. Like he doesn't need a ton of power. He needs at most 3 power at any given time to do what he really wants to do.
Yep.
Maybe 4 if you want to thunder a splash into make sure you have the one for that tickles. But like him having 6 health, not being able to be pushed or thrown as attack special rules, that's pretty important, especially on Kingpin's Crime Boys.
So I play Crime Boys. That's the main team I play, and I actually considered for a moment swapping out Lizard, because I play Lizard in it, just because he's a big secure bully. Swapping him out for the Blob as a secure bully, just to at least try. I actually still might grab him just to mess around with it. I actually think too, Blob is a great counter to Crime Boys also, because their whole thing is secures, and you really want to try to secure those secures. Well, they're not going to count for 2s anymore when Blob just pushes them all away.
Yeah.
Also, most of them are physical attackers. Most of them.
Mhm.
Granted, he's a 3 cost with 4 physical defense. Still
And
helps
6 health.
and 6 health. So I think he's a medium base. I think he should
Probably.
be.
He should be a bigger base. He moves small.
I can
It would
look.
be
Yeah,
weird if
he's
he
on
was
the
a small-
medium.
I was bet he
Okay.
has to be. He a
If,
big boy.
if he wasn't, that'd be a real problem.
That would be a weird
Yeah, that
thing.
will be tough.
Yeah.
And like Nick said too, I usually like to place higher threat characters last so they can't be hard countered. But if you end up in a position where you haven't placed Blob yet and your opponent has sort of hard loaded
medium.
one side of the board with red attackers, you can just sort of drop him on that side of the board and he'll be pretty good on that side of the board. I don't think he's bad. I just think there's some weaknesses in his kit that are easily exploitable by characters. Like Jean Grey is
Yeah.
gonna wipe the floor with this guy. She hits for blue. She can move him without using an attack. Like she does a lot. So
Yeah, there's gonna be some. If your opponent has a well-rounded team, he might have a hard time really doing what he needs to do
Yeah.
without
like,
some strategy.
if he came out like
Weird
a
strategy.
year ago, he'd be like a monster because a year ago there wasn't enough blue and yellow attacks on the board to deal with something like this. Now we've gotten, the whole Convalescence package. Jean Grey and Cassandra Nova came out. Scarlet Witch, like a ton of characters have come out. The whole Hydra roster can basically hit for yellow or blue if they want to. There's just a lot of new teams that sort of hit for yellow and blue when a long time ago, and not even that long ago, but before the November update, there weren't enough characters that were hitting. So he would have been like a monster if he came out, a year ago or a year and a half ago. Whereas now I think he's just like a solid 3 cost option.
Yeah, I agree.
But
yeah,
that's it for my thoughts.
Yeah, there's
obviously there's some potential that we don't know yet because their team box is listed to have 3 team tax cards, so we don't know how many of those will be good for Blob or how many of those are really a pyro card. So we'll have to see what comes out of it. Maybe he'll have something like a protector, a lethal protector.
Maybe he gets hero for hire or lethal protector or something. That could be really important for him, especially since heroes for hire allows the character to throw after they bodyguard. So that could be cool. Forcing him in front of red attacks also pretty good.
Maybe and then maybe there's a damage reduction one. I was thinking that could fit in somehow.
If he got a bodyguard like Heroes for Hire, he bodyguards, uses that tickles, and then throws them twice off of both of those effects. Like that could be really interesting.
Yeah. So he definitely has potential, but like I can already see if I was bringing Guardians of the Galaxy and don't put down Blob, I wouldn't be super concerned. I would just have to be sure that I most likely would have Rocket or Star. I'd probably have Star Lord, and he's all yellow attack, so he'd probably just be sure to deal with him, especially
just
because
bully
he has
him like that.
Stuff, so he's gonna have a hard time getting within that range too to build up that power. So,
all right.
So
based on our usual system, we're gonna do thumbs up, middle, or eh. I think for me, it's gonna be right in the middle. He's fine. Yeah. I got nothing. Like, I don't think there's any too much negative for him, so I'm right in the middle for him. For me.
Yeah, he's a character I want to see before I'm like, yeah, I think he's a heater right now. But there's like potential that his team tactics cards are insane, or that he just has synergy with teams that I'm not thinking of off the top of my head that make him way better than he looks.
And Nick?
Yeah, I'm trying to think in terms of Brotherhood.
You gotta consider because there's funny plays with Asteroid M with him too.
Yeah, I'm gonna give him just to be different, and it's 100% just to be different, but just to give like I'm kind of a middle, but more like an upper middle, so I'll give him a thumbs up. So it's just like on Brotherhood, they could use a lower cost, tankier character, and they have cards that will work. He will have, being with Magneto, he will always have power that's for that that tickles and still be able to do a Thunder Splash when he activates. He could.
He can feel the Brotherhood leadership too, because he can throw terrain features. Just solid.
And so I think he has definitely a place on Brotherhood. He's gonna make it a little easier for them. Sometimes they seem like they don't have great options. Mainly because, like I said, they have a lot of their potentials in their higher costing characters, and there's not enough. Seeing that Magneto 6, it gets a little tough, especially when like your next option's like Juggernaut. Then all of a sudden you're spending points like crazy.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, you're at 11 points to start.
It's so tough when like your main leader, obviously, because Mystique is not bad, but Magneto's obviously better. When your main leader is a 6 point or is a 6 threat by himself, it changes a lot.
yeah, so I think this will be good for Brotherhood, at the very least. And
Obviously,
he definitely can probably show up other places too.
he is nowhere near the best 6 threat leader. Obviously, that goes to Hulkbuster. You know,
That's true.
Reducing damage by 1 with collision is pretty good.
It's broken.
Come on,
Just say it.
Yeah, I you know,
could save you a brace for impact. Could save you from bringing that card.
Oh,
yeah. Has like a 23% win rate, dude. He's like the best leader in the game.
He's big mega mind to play that. So, all right, man. I think that is gonna do it with this. Please let us know what you guys think. If there's, oh my God, excuse me, I'm a blob right now. If there's oh Nick, I almost said it. If there's some might say little piggy. If there's anything else you'd like to point out about Blob, maybe we're missing something, let us know. We'll definitely be covering Pyro and Hit their Team Tactics cards once they come out too. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe again. And as always, and we have proved this before, always make sure to roll your crits. Promise you will never lose. Farewell, everybody.
Sure.
Love you. Bye.
Bye.